Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it right here on NAC TV with us. I'm Eoin, Devereux, news reporter with the Banner Press, joined this week by Casper, Wehrhahn, reporter with the Banner Press as well. Fancy that! two reporters talking about a newspaper.
What a surprise!
You know what? We got to start bringing in some special guests. You know, people like Diane Warner. Diane Warner does all the ads for us, but she will. Oh no, she won't. It'd be kicking and screaming coming to get in here, but we should think outside the box for that maybe one time.
Yeah, just change things up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But since we're here, we might as well talk a little bit about the paper. Why not? Crazy. But this week's paper, after all the hubbub and excitement over the last few weeks with the provincial championship curling occurring right here in Neepawa, we're returning to a bit of normal, a version of normal for a nice chilly February heading into March. And fortunately, though, with the Louis Riel holiday, the day off for many people that recently occurred, there was so much that was going on in Neepawa and around Neepawa as well. And we've got a bunch of pictures of it. So you can see that in the paper. First things, you can find it on page 2, although technically page A2. We are a 2 section this week. Cook-off winners declared for the Louis Riel Day festivities that took place down in the flats. Just a couple of the pictures that occurred down there. And on the back page as well, on page A16, you can find some pictures from Skate the Lake. I was out there over the weekend, checked out some of the things that were going on there, and I gotta tell you, holy cow! Casper. It was genuinely the first time I've gone out there for Skate the Lake. Surprisingly enough, in this nearly 10 years that I've been here, it's always been sort of someone else has gone out there or something like that. I've never seen it with my own eyes, and I gotta say, I was thoroughly impressed with the whole setup they had down on Lake Minnedosa.
Yeah, it's quite something that they have going on out there. Like they have snow piled up to sort of create individual rinks for different things. They've even got painted circles on there you can see on the back page for curling. It's incredible, and it really looks like everyone enjoyed it that went out.
Oh, it was a huge crowd. I was out there actually on the Saturday. And got a bunch of pictures while I was out there. So it was a bunch of little ice sheets where little minor hockey was being played. They were having so much fun, and as well the ice sheets are about, I think there were about 4, if I remember correctly, set up with the actual rings and whatnot. Really, an actual curling rock. Sometimes you get the little makeshift rocks, or the sometimes I remember growing up we used to do jam pail. It was called jam pail curling back then. And it was just sort of chopped wood, and then you'd drive in a piece of metal and you'd throw it, and it'd be all different sizes and all different shapes, and you'd have to compensate for that little bit of birch or that little bit of tree that was on there that would slip up your shot there. No, but this was really professionally done, and kudos to Minnedosa for really going above and beyond. Neepawa did some things too down at the flats consistently every year. They like to do something down there, and it's wonderful to see those individuals and those volunteers step up to make things special close to home as well. So again, to those who were involved in Minnedosa and to those that were involved in making it something special in Neepawa, very appreciative of that work that you did to make Louis Riel something special for a lot of the families in and around our community. Now, if you'd like to see some of the pictures, if you weren't able to be there in person, you can see them in this week's edition of the Banner Press. Not only can you see those pictures in there, but you can see this as well. We're going to get to our lead story shortly, but I just want to throw this out there as well because it's on page A2 as well. And I wasn't able to get to it. I was covering some ice hockey over the weekend, but during the weekend, they had the Dancing with the Stars Gala at the Yellowhead Hall here in Neepawa. And it looked like it was a whole heck of a lot of fun. And just go on to page A2, and if you want to get a closer picture of it, you're going to have to pick up a copy of it or check it out at mywestman.ca. But some of the pictures we got were great. That is Jeff Ron with the town of Neepawa, who was one of the celebrities, the local celebrities that participated in the event. And it looks like it was a whole heck of a lot of fun, a well-attended event as well. So it's great to see these types of events that maybe we took for granted before 2020 coming back slowly and turning back into something special for our community.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very great to see these sorts of things coming back and sprucing things up a bit, getting people out and about and enjoying the community and the fellowship and all that. And I have to say, it's a shame that I don't have my car back from the shop yet from those rust repairs, because that would have been a great event to go down and see while taking some photos. Great photos there from those submissions. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we try and get out to as many events as we can, but sometimes the weather or other little things, such as a vehicle needs a repair or two, sort of get in the way of that. And that's why we need your help. If you have some information, if you have something, send it our way. We can't guarantee everything you send us is going to get in. I had that recently with a couple things that were sent in. We only had a certain amount of space where we were able to put stuff in there, but we try to find it as best we can. In fact, I'll be emailing someone probably after the show saying, thank you for the submission. We were able to get a picture in and the information. We weren't able to get all of them in. If we have space in next week's edition, we will do our very best to get that in there as well. But it's one of those things of, we do appreciate it. Don't think that we don't. We very much appreciate you supporting us in that way by sending us information, by sending us pictures. And we do feel bad when we're not able to get all of it in there. But we do try, and we do appreciate you sort of sticking by us when we do try. All right, let's get to the main story of the week. This one on the front page, Ken Waddell is the gentleman who tracked it down, was able to get it. Very brief, very to the point. Ken's very succinct in his writing, I'm noticing. He doesn't sort of, nuance the little lingering words and all that. I'm trying to say, we just go on and on and on. We won't shut up when we write, but Ken gets to the point. So, and we do appreciate that, because we did have limited space this week. But on the front page, you can find his story about Harris Pharmacy. Another prominent, notable Neepawa business is going to be building for the future in a new location. Harris Pharmacy has confirmed. It's a little bit of a rumor, Casper, that's been going about in the community. They didn't want to say officially just yet. They got to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, get everything organized. But they will be moving to a brand new location, essentially where, hopefully you'll remember this, where the old Home Hardware building was, right next to the bakery and Rotors. Is it Rotors or the other? I'm
Lola's?
sorry. Lola's. Yes,
Lola's.
sorry.
Yeah,
it's
because
Lola's.
Rotors is further down.
Yes, Lola's is where the former, it used to be a 7-Eleven apparently, way back in the day. But it's in the other one. But it's going to be located right next to Lola's, just right across from the Salvation Army store. And it's going to be a brand new building for Harris Pharmacy. They've decided to build new, and they're very excited about the build and what it's going to mean for them and what's going to mean for their customer base. Essentially, the reason they're doing this is the building they're at. It's a wonderful location. It's a great area. It's just a combination of sort of parking in the downtown area, in that specific area. It's a little tight from time to time, especially during work days. And as well, it's multi-level. You got the stairs when you walk in. You've got to sort of go all different sort of, and for some of their older clientele, that's a little bit of an inconvenience. As my knees start to go, I can very much relate, quite honestly. And I've still got 20, well, God willing, 20 years ahead of me to sort of complain about my knees. So, but no, it's great that they're able to do this, and it shows the viability of these locally run and operated businesses.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to see that Harris Pharmacy is getting a new location as well, because of course also kind of recently we've had Whitey's Fitness, which is progressing along quite well.
Yep.
And the home hardware that's going up just outside of town. Well, still in town, but it's out that way. And that's progressing along quite well as well. So to see this being the next one in line, especially with a service like this, you want to have that available parking space because you want people to come in, get their prescriptions fairly easily because that's a very important thing. And it was just fascinating to me as well, reading a bit of the history that Ken goes into here, because I was aware it was sort of technically like two buildings. You can tell just from the structure outside the building and a little bit inside. But reading that there was like 3 different businesses in there at one time at some point was quite interesting.
Oh, no, most definitely. And very much going to be looking forward to sort of covering this as it continues to move forward. We've done similar stories following the progression of the home hardware and of Whitey's Fitness as well. Interesting thing, I was just in there last night. I have a membership there and just had to they're changing some of the online structure of how you book appointments and all that. So was just in there talking to, it wasn't Sherry, the owner-operator, it was one of the people that works there, just about how's things looking in the building. I mean, what are you going to be bringing in there? They were like, we can't say too much right now, but I think you're going to be happy with it. And I hope so, very much. I mean, I don't do much anymore. I go to work, I go home, and I go to the gym. And sometimes I go to council meetings, and sometimes I go to hockey games, and that's about it. So that's about 20% of what keeps me happy in this town. So very much looking forward to seeing that. Same thing with home hardware as well. Home hardware has been fantastic, but in an older building like where it's located right now in the downtown area, there's only so much you can bring in. But this new building, it's so much bigger, so much more expansive. They're going to be able to bring in a lot more stuff. People are going to be able to shop home locally as opposed to having to order stuff in or opposed to having to go to Brandon and get it. And that's the big thing. You don't want to have to go to Brandon to get your hardware stuff. You don't want to have to go to Brandon to go to a gym that has certain equipment or certain things. And you don't want to have to go to a Brandon pharmacy to get your prescription needs and to get your care needs. And all this construction really is making sure that you're going to be able to stay close to home.
Absolutely. Yeah, the closer to home, the better. It saves you a day trip, really. And it's just great to have these services within the community.
Now, honestly, if we could just get a Wendy's right here in Neepawa, I'd never have to leave ever again. No.
I have to admit, I've never had Wendy's. I've never tried it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I always see the commercials, but I've never gone in.
We're gonna take a break from the show and the newspaper. We're just gonna talk about the tranquility and perfection that is the spicy chicken combo from Wendy's. I mean, that's just chef's kiss. Oh, and hopefully, if you get the fries, get them. The Wendy's fries are either as soon as they come out, they're amazing, or if they've been sitting a while, they're terrible. Wendy's will never be a sponsor of this show now. I've jinxed it, but yeah, it's Neepawa still has everything we need. Mm-hmm. I mean, most definitely. But it's great to see that type of expansion and renovation and relocation happening here. So kudos to that business, and we'll be following up very much so in the future. All right, we're going to get a little political here right now. Oh, God, I know what you're thinking. Oh, already?
Not again.
I thought we had a few more months before we had to start thinking about that again. But even though the provincial election will be happening in the first week of October, whether we like it or not, it is going to happen. We had an opportunity, and by we, I must say I had an opportunity to head out to Gladstone last Friday and to learn a little bit about a new group, a new party that wants to make some waves, wants to make a few ripples in the next provincial election. If you follow politics on a level you know of provincial parties like the Saskatchewan Party, for example, or it no longer exists, but it used to be huge, the Wild Rose in Alberta, or most likely the most famous of them all, the Parti Québécois, obviously in Quebec. These are provincial-oriented parties, political parties. They're looking out for what they say is provincial interests. Whether you believe that, whether you don't believe that, we'll leave that up to you. And there's a new party that is going along that same lines, to a degree. They call themselves the Keystone Party of Manitoba. They are starting from humble beginnings. They are a grassroots group. A gentleman who is the current leader, Kevin Friesen, he was in attendance. There were about about 24 people there in Gladstone on a Friday night, and that were curious about this party, what they stood for, what they represented, and what they were all about. So Kevin was there. He was sharing some of the details of what this party is all about. Now, if you'd like to see the story, it's on page A7 of this week's edition of the Banner Press. I do hope you give it a read. Even though politics sometimes can be a real pain, even though it's something that none of us really have that much optimism about anymore, it seems, it's something we still have to pay attention to. These are the individuals that make the decisions that impact us on a daily basis. So pay attention to it. And this party laid out their platform. They had about 7 different things they were talking about. Now, I'm not going to get into this. Is not one of those political shows where two people from different sides of the spectrum just start yelling at each other and nothing gets accomplished. Not usually, but they laid out, and I'll let you decide for yourself. That's the important thing. There's too many times where people will put their own personal opinions into certain stories. We try not to do it locally. Anything like that occurs is on our opinion pages. Always keep that in mind. It's in our opinion pages, and we try and keep it off the news pages. Now, he shares they want an equal distribution on healthcare and education opportunities, a tougher stance on crime, and this was the big one, Casper, limited government size and scope. Now, what I seem to take from it, and please, I'm allowed to have this opinion here on this show. I can't have it on the page. This is my personal opinion, not that of the Neepawa Banner Press, not that of NACTV, and it might not be yours. But my opinion was this party is about let us do what we want to do type thing. There's too much restrictions, there's too much regulation in government that is controlling our daily lives on a regular basis. Give us some of those fundamental freedoms. Let us decide for ourselves what we think is right. And I know what you're thinking. You're going into the COVID-19, the mask mandates, all that stuff, most likely. I think it's more than that. Maybe it started off with that, but I think it's more along the regulations just of the daily tedium of dealing with regulations. And I could be wrong. I'm just sharing this. This is my opinion, and I could be wrong on that. That's what I think they're trying to do. And quite honestly, with the way the world is right now and the political landscape and the frustration a lot of people are feeling in Manitoba, like it or not, yay or nay, that might make some inroads this election. I don't know. Let me get your take, Casper.
It could. I don't have quite as much of a mind for politics as other people do. It just doesn't quite stick in my brain as same as other people do. I don't have the same sort of level of analysis of things when it comes to certain things like that. But definitely it seems like there's a lot of red tape, you could say, for certain things that people seem to get really frustrated with. And it can be for very good reasons. So something like this might be very attractive to voters who have had to deal with that.
The thing I found was interesting as well is they very specifically, strategically, didn't want to, and I'm not going to name certain political parties on national level, they didn't want people thinking they were to the extreme right. They wanted to be thought of somewhere in between the NDP and somewhere in between the progressive conservatives here in Manitoba. You'll have to look at their party platform to decide for yourself on that. That is your decision to have to make. But they're being very cautious with their game plan, and they're being very realistic about their game plan as well. Had an opportunity to speak with Kevin afterwards, get a little bit of a perspective, which you can find in the story. And one of the things I found interesting is they have a realistic expectation of how many people they're going to have running in this election. They want quality, as they put it, quality over quantity. Realistically, they think between 8 to 10 candidates in this upcoming election is feasible, is doable, but it all depends on the local level. They want local people to be able to have that voice and share their information on their concerns. So it'll be interesting to watch how this lays out. Like I said, 8 to 10, you're not going to be running things with 8 to 10 candidates. But even if you get two of those candidates elected, you can at least have a voice and establish yourself. Because that's the weird thing, Casper, about provincial politics, especially here in Manitoba, is that for the longest time, even longer than I can remember, it's always either NDP or Progressive Conservative. Flip, flop, left, right, either or. And that's it. Even though we have multiples, we have the Liberal Party of Manitoba, we have the Green Party, I believe, as well. Hell, we've even had Communist Party run on a provincial level as well in the past. And that was always interesting for me, I thought. But with the exception of, I think, sometime in the late 70s or early 80s, I'll have to look and clarify this after the show. I think only one time the Liberal Party has sort of jumped up ahead of these ones for a 4-year period. But other than that, it's always these two. And quite honestly, has it worked for us? That's, who knows? Maybe we do need to look beyond, the blue tie or the orange tie. And I'm not saying, this new one, or I'm not saying Liberals, but let's not give those two, chances again if we don't think they deserve them.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going off on a little tirade here, but the last couple years has been very frustrating with this government. And I'm old enough to remember the previous government and some of the things they did, and some of the promises they made, and some of the promises that were not kept. It's just, I'm not really selling the concept of voting. I'm not really selling the concept of democracy right now, am I?
It really all just comes down to what are the policies, what are they intending to do, and if you feel that they're going to represent what you want them to represent, then do what you want them to do, I guess. Not the best way to put it, but that's all my brain can conjure right now for words.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's move on to something else, because quite honestly, we've got several weeks, several months over the near future where we're going to be talking about politics leading up into the provincial election that is going to be happening in October. So let's get a little lighter. Let's have a little more fun with what we've got to talk about here. And we're just going to quickly share some details of our local sporting teams who were out sporting over the weekend. Neepawa Farmers, the Senior A hockey team, started their playoff run. They were playing McGregor Wild in their first round series. Congratulations to the Neepawa Farmers, who were able to win that series 2-1 and advance on to the next round of the Tiger Hills Hockey League playoffs, where they'll be playing the Gladstone Lakers. It's going to be a tough one. Gladstone is consistently over the years a very good team. So it's going to be a tough run for the Neepawa Farmers, but we wish them luck. Again, we wish Gladstone. We just hope everybody has a good time. Hopefully everyone has a good time. No one gets hurt. Yay sports. But if you want to find that story, it is in the sports section of this week's edition of the Banner Press, as well as an update on the Neepawa Titans Junior A hockey team. They had a pair of games over the weekend against the Winnipeg Blues, and they were very successful in those 2 games, winning both of them and doing so in convincing fashion. I had a chance to speak with a couple players, Briley Wood and Gavin Renwick, goaltender Gavin Renwick, who played both games for the Titans, picked up a pair of wins, and they're very pleased with where the team is at right now, that mindset. They understand that they're currently out of the playoffs, looking in. They want to get to a playoff position, and they have to keep playing like they have been to make that happen. They understand they're under the gun right now, so they're doing everything they can to advance and to make that stride and that next step. And it's good to see. Even if they don't make the playoffs this year, they've played well. They've played outstanding hockey. Because there have been some years with the Neepawa Titans / Junior A Hockey Club / Natives that has not been fun to watch. I won't name off certain years, but in the 10 years I've been here, there have been 1 or 2 years where it's just been, oh God, they do not pay me enough for this, Casper. They really don't.
Right, yeah. No, it definitely seems like they've got some good momentum going. So if they can keep that going, even if they just happen to miss the playoffs just a little bit, if they can keep that going, it'll be very good for the team overall.
That's right. This year has not been one of those types of years. They have 20 wins on the season. They are 1 win away from their second best season in over a decade. The best season they've had in the last 12 years was a 25-win season where they didn't make the playoffs. Their second best was a 21-win season where they did make the playoffs in a dramatic final game, final day, final victory over Swan Valley a few years ago. I had the pleasure of covering that, and that was a great energy in the Yellowhead Center, a great feeling, a great sense of sort of community. It'd be wonderful to be able to see that again in the near future. And again, who knows? Maybe we'll see it with the Farmers. Maybe they have a long playoff run in the Tiger Hills Hockey League. Or maybe we'll see it in the Tigers, the high school team. They're going to be starting their playoffs soon. We're going to have a special feature in next week's edition of the Banner Press, spotlighting all the players for the Neepawa Tigers high school hockey team. So we got to give them a shout out as well. So we'll see how it goes. Let's finalize this week's show with a quick look at a feature we have every single year for a few months. We're starting it up again, the Farmer's Advocate. It's just 4 pages in this week's edition of the paper, but there are 4 pages of note, some interesting things going on in the ag industry. Even if you don't think you're involved in the ag industry, give it a quick once over, just to sort of educate yourself on that. I think it's very important for our region. Absolutely.
It's the area that we're in is a very ag-heavy area, so it's great to be knowledgeable on these things, or even just not knowledgeable and you want to find out more. That's what this section is great for, and it can be a very good learning experience for myself as well whenever I get to get in touch with people and do up some of these stories. It's fantastic.
I got to admit though, this advocate was quite the challenge, because really we're in between stuff happening. Last month was the Ag Expo and whatnot in Brandon, and we're still a ways away from the Ag Expo that's going to be happening here in Neepawa. Seating hasn't started yet. It's all just sort of, we're in that little pause. So I'll be honest with you, this month's Advocate's not one of our best, but don't hold it against us. We'll get better, I promise. So that's roughly about it for this week's edition of the Story Behind the Stories. Very appreciative that you take a few minutes and listen to us ramble on about stuff we sort of understand and hope to help you understand. Casper, as always, great to have you here.
Great to be here, and remember, fries first.
And again, thank you for tuning in. Again, if you have any story suggestions, ideas, give us a call over at 476-3401 or send us an email at news@neepawabanner.com. Any support in that way is always appreciated, and we try and get everyone we can on the page. So once again, thank you, and have yourself, hopefully, a great and a warm week. Bye now.